high in the mountains, there is a lake. It sits almost 12,000 feet above sea level. It is trapped behind ancient granite walls. No river flows into it. No stream connects it to another lake. Every winter, it freezes solid. For thousands of years, fish should not have lived there. But then biologists dropped a net into the icy water. When they pulled it back up, it was full of trout. Not one trout, not two trout, thousands of trout. So the mystery begins. How did fish reach a lake they should never reach? The answer sounds simple at first, but it is not what most people think. Stay till the end? The last part will completely change how you think about this. By the end, you will understand the hidden story behind mountain lakes. You will see why the common explanations fail. You will also see how one human choice changed entire ecosystems. For a long time, people blamed birds. That idea sounds reasonable. Ducks move from lake to lake. Herons do the same. Water birds land in shallow water. They walk through mud. They swim through places filled with fish eggs. So people thought the eggs might stick to them. Maybe the eggs stuck to feathers. Maybe they stuck to legs. Maybe they stuck to feet. Then the bird flew away. It crossed the mountains. It landed in another lake. And the fish eggs got a new home. It is a clean explanation. It feels natural. It sounds like something nature would do. That is why people repeated it for so long. You hear it in documentaries. You see it in articles. People accept it without thinking much. But there is one big problem. Nobody has proved it. Scientists have checked wild water birds. They looked closely at feathers. They examined feet. They searched for fish eggs that could still hatch. Again and again, they found nothing useful. Fish eggs can be sticky, but they are also delicate. They must stay wet. The tiny embryo inside needs moisture. A bird's leg is exposed to dry air during flight. That air can dry an egg very quickly. Even 20 minutes can be too long. By the time the bird reaches another lake, the egg may already be dead. So the bird theory sounds nice. But under pressure, it starts to break. Then people turned to another explanation. Maybe it was not birds. Maybe it was storms. For decades, people pointed to waterspouts. A waterspout is like a tornado over water. The idea is dramatic. A spinning column sweeps across a lake. It pulls up water. It pulls up debris. Maybe it even pulls up fish. Then it carries everything through the air. Later, it drops the fish somewhere else. That would explain strange stories of fish rain. People have reported fish falling from the sky. Stories like this came from places like Texas and India. So the storm idea seems possible. If storms can move fish, maybe they move trout too. But the details do not fit. Scientists studied what waterspouts actually lift. Most of it is small and light. Insects, frogs, tiny minnows, creatures that weigh almost nothing. A grown trout is different. It is much heavier. It is not the kind of animal waterspouts are known to lift. And when fish rain really happens, the source is usually nearby. It often comes from shallow ponds, or flooded fields, or low water close to the ground, not remote mountain lakes, not basins hidden at 12,000 feet, not frozen waters sealed behind granite. So now both popular answers were failing. Birds did not explain it. Storms did not explain it. Something else had to be happening. Researchers stopped looking at the sky. They started looking through old records. And there, in government archives, they found the truth. The fish were not carried there by nature. They were carried there by people. In the late 1800s, the American West was changing fast. It was being mapped. It was being mined. It was being settled. People were moving into mountains and wilderness areas. Wildlife agencies saw an opportunity. Empty mountain lakes could become fishing destinations. To them, the idea was simple. If a lake had no fish, add fish. Then hikers would come, anglers would come, mountain towns would benefit, trails would matter more. Wild places would become recreation spots. But there was a problem. The lakes were hard to reach. Many sat above the tree line. There were no roads. There were no wagons. There was no easy path. Reaching one lake could take days, so agencies got creative. They filled milk cans with young trout. Then they loaded those cans onto mules. The mules climbed narrow mountain trails. The journey could last 2 or 3 days. The fish were shaken constantly. Oxygen levels dropped. Temperatures changed from valley to summit. Many fish died on the way. The survival rate was brutal. But enough fish lived. And that was enough. By the early 1900s, thousands of mountain lakes had been stocked by hand. These lakes had once been fishless. Now trout were spreading through the Sierra Nevada. They were spreading through the Rockies. They were spreading through the Cascades. Fish had entered places they could never reach alone. Then airplanes changed everything. What once took days now took an afternoon. Small planes flew low over mountain basins. They opened their cargo holds. Young trout dropped into the lakes below. One flight could stock many lakes. Sometimes tens of thousands of fish were released quickly. In California, aerial stocking became normal for decades. But a hiker arriving later would never know this history. They would climb a long trail. They would find a clear blue lake. They would see rock, snow, and silence. They would cast a line into water that looked untouched. Then they would catch a trout, and it would feel like the trout had always belonged there. But it had not. For many years, this looked like success. More fish meant more fishing. More fishing meant more visitors. More visitors meant more tourism. Mountain lakes became destinations. Families built traditions around them. Anglers hiked for hours to reach them. People began linking trout with the mountain wilderness. But almost nobody asked the deeper question. If these lakes had no fish before, what lived there instead? That question changes everything. The lakes were not empty. They were only empty of fish. Alpine lakes above the tree line are harsh places. The water is cold. The growing season is short. Nutrients are limited. Life moves slowly there. For thousands of years, many of these lakes had no fish. That absence created space for another animal, frogs. More specifically, mountain yellow-legged frogs. These frogs lived in high mountain lake systems. They evolved without fish predators underwater. That shaped their whole way of life. They did not hide their eggs near shore. They laid them in open water, right out in the middle of the lake. For thousands of years, that worked. No trout waded below. No fish hunted their eggs. No fish hunted their tadpoles. Their world had no underwater predator like that. Then humans brought trout, and trout ate exactly what the frogs could not defend. The result was devastating. In California's 60 Lake Basin, researchers saw the pattern. Once trout arrived, the frogs declined fast. In lake after lake, they vanished completely. Sometimes it took only a few years. Think about that. These frogs had survived cold. They had survived ice.